Hi everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and it's time for the August Upcrate, which is the German monthly subscription box. Follows a very similar format to the UK scroller box, which I reviewed in Sunday's video. So if you haven't seen that, I'll leave the link in the end card and you can go and check that out after you've watched this. So same sort of idea as I said, we get a set of surprise supplies every month, along with a featured artist and a prompt so that we can use those supplies to create an artwork that fits the prompt. So let's get fired in. Oh, everything's all wrapped so nicely. I'm really enjoying the little stickers that come on the tissue paper with these days. It always tickles me a little bit. So the magazine for this box is called the Bottle Post, and they've started to feature artwork that can be submitted to them on the front covers of this, and this is by someone called Jello Beans, I think. Hippie 70s vibe to it, and that's a really cheery cover. I like that, but we'll check that out later because all the description of the supplies will be in here. We get a set of stickers, and again I like the Upcrate stickers because most of these are individual cutout stickers as well, so you can pick and choose where you want to place them, and they always have one that goes with the featured artist, and it is the Upcrate logo done in their style. So this is Jello Beans, so I think Jello Beans must be the co-captain, which is what Upcrate call their featured artist, but this is a lovely set of stickers. I really like the cherries. I painted cherries not that long ago, so that kind of appeals to me. Featured artwork. Oh, look at this. This is so bright and colourful. It's difficult to tell what kind of supplies we've got here. It does look like paint pens and a little bit of pencil maybe. So yes, this is the co-captain, Jello Beans. My name is Gillian. I am a graphic designer and illustrator from Boston, Massachusetts in the US. So you can see she's got a very specific style, and this is some of the stuff from Instagram. So lots of colourful portraits with quite sort of different patterned and varied backgrounds as well. So you can go and check her out on Instagram if you'd like to see more of her work. Now we usually get a surface to draw on, and we have here an ArtSpace mixed media sketchbook. I love these ones with the rounded corners. They're so good. Means if you carry them about in a bag, they don't get all dented. Now that's quite a thick pad, you know, there's a lot of paper in there. It is a sewn spine, so it's obviously the paper has been folded in half. So the only thing that might be difficult to do is to get it to lay flat, and it's a soft cover as well. So ideal for sketching out ideas and designs in. On to the supplies. Okay, so we've got a set of coloured pencils. Someone did tell me how to pronounce this properly, and I've clearly not paid any attention. Koh-i-noor, it's not pronounced koh-i-noor, is it? But these are the polycolour pencils, so these are an oil-based colour pencil, and these are actually unsung heroes. They don't seem to be overly popular, particularly here in the UK, but they're actually really nice pencils, and we've got a lovely selection of colours here. We've got 6 colours to choose from. So we've got a red, an orange, a very pale delicate pink, a darker pink, a green and a blue. So that instantly makes me happy because I like pencil, and having used these before, they're very reasonably priced and they're pretty nice to work with as well, so we will check them out in due course. Yet another company name that I can't pronounce. Brunziel. They are a Dutch company, and this is a pack of fine liners stroke brush pens. So these are dual ended, and they've come in this lovely little packaging, and this is from their Expression series. So let's take a wee look at these bad boys. Triangular barrels. So we have a fine liner tip and a brush tip. And the fine liner tip is a plastic nibbed pen, easy for me to say. And this end we have quite a heavy brush, and I can see it's actually flattened at the end. The cap's frayed the tip of it, so not off to a great start. We will have to test these out. I just want to take a quick look at the other ones. We've got this lovely sky blue colour. Yeah, this one looks okay, so maybe it's just the black one that's maybe suffered a bit of a knock or something. Okay, yeah. So we've got quite a nice selection of colours here, obviously, that all go together. And that fits in quite nicely with the pencils as well, so we can't be complaining about this. It seems that we're very colourful for this box, and I quite like that. But again, that fits in with the front cover of the Bottle Post, and there's quite a lot going on there. Now this is interesting because these are acrylic paint markers, and what have we just had with Scrawler Box? Acrylic paint markers. A very chunky Graph Master. Wow. A 7mm tip, And there's also a spare nib for this as well, which is always nice to have a spare. It's so chunky. I don't know what it is with Upcrate, but they like to give us a chunky marker. I think they're kind of nudging us to using this for a background, obviously, because it covers a large area up very quickly. And we've also got Amsterdam acrylic markers. We've got a red one. Oh, it's a light rose. It's actually pink. And it says M on it, so I'm assuming that's for medium. Let's take a look at the tip on that. So this is a rounded tip, not unlike the Molotov ones we got in the scroller box. We've got 3 in a small. Oh, now it's interesting. It tells you, I wonder if it says it on that one too. These 3 are opaque. This one is semi-opaque, so I don't really know what the point is in this. So Amsterdam is obviously Royal Talons anyway, and these ones are 2mm round nib. So that's quite a dinky little nib, so that's going to be good for detail and the such like. Right, I'm assuming this is, yeah, these are all 2mm. This one's a 4mm, and then we've got this big 7mm bad boy here. Off the bat, I'm not really, the only thing I'm excited about is the pencils, because I've got these pens coming out my ears, like I've got more paint pens than I know what to do with. And I tend to find with these great big ones, I don't have a lot of use for them, honestly. I'm glad we've got a really big selection, and obviously they're going for a mixed media theme here, which can always help the sort of creative juices a bit more. So let's check out the bottle post, see if we can learn a bit more about the supplies. So in the front page is just a little sort of introductory spiel. Everything in the magazine is in German and also in English as well. Okay, so let's talk about the fine liners then. The recommended retail price, and this is for this pack, is €5.30, so that's quite cheap. These fine liners do not roll off the table, even in heavy seas, because they have a triangular ergonomic shape that rests comfortably in your hand. Double-sided brush tips offers possibility to bring wide and narrow lines in the same colour onto the paper with ease. It's water-based ink and particularly suitable for urban sketching, hand lettering, bullet journals, calligraphy and drawings. So that's fairly straightforward. If they're water-soluble, you could always have a little diddle with them, at them with a water brush just to see what happens. So we could maybe give that a try. I'm not a big fan of triangular barrels just because I've got a hand injury and it just seems really awkward to me, but generally I think they're quite well received. I would love to know what your thoughts are on triangular barrels, whether you like them or dislike them, or maybe you're indifferent. They do seem to have this really nice colour. I'm enjoying the colours that have come together for that particular set in the little pack. That was nice. So the Royal Talons Amsterdam acrylic pens. Markers offer a simple solution to create clear fine lines with acrylic paint. High quality pigment is light, fast and waterproof after its quick drying time. The pens are available in 46 different colours and 3 different sizes. So we've got the 2 and the 4, but they also come in a 15mm nib, so they come in like a massive chunky monkey. And this is the other thing I like about the bottle post as well. Usually with at least one supply, it shows you what colours they come in. So if it's something that you were thinking about purchasing more of, you can have a good look and, make a decision before you spend any money. Okay, so they've actually got a separate listing for the bigger marker, which is the one that's light rose. A different line widths, same game. With this acrylic marker made by Amsterdam, you can draw clear lines and fill in coloured areas. As with their narrow markers, the colour is opaque, light, fast, waterproof after drying and of high quality. I wish someone would correct them. Obviously this has been translated from German into English, but it's a spelling mistake that's been made a couple of times and it says nip size instead of nib size. I don't know about everyone else in the UK, but if a nip is something completely different, it can be used as a derogatory racial term, but it's also a part of the anatomy usually associated with females who have no tops on. Yeah, might want to do something about that. It's obviously not intentional though, and I'm perfectly aware of that. Okay, these pencils, the Polycolour pencils, these are hexagonal softwood pencils, oil-based lead, as I said. Gives the colour pigment excellent light, fast and water resistance. I actually favour oil-based pencils over wax-based pencils, and that's something that I've just discovered gradually, as my artying has gone on. 3.8mm thick core, soft enough to enable the application of rich colours without heavy pressure. One of the good things about oil-based pencils is they seem to layer up better than wax-based pencils because you don't get that wax bloom. Colour palette includes 72 different tones that can be mixed by layering light applications of colour. Sharpen the tip of the pencil for detailed work or use the side of the lead to fill in larger areas. The Mixed Media Sketchbook, A5 format, wire stitched A5 sketchbook. It's got 20 sheets of paper. The paper is 180 GSM, so that's fairly good, and it'll take a little bit of punishment in terms of water-based media as well, which obviously is kind of important for a mixed media sketchbook, so that's good to know as well. The Graphmaster acrylic ink, so this is our big chunky monkey. Oh, here we go again. You have 1 out of 3 sizes in your Upcrate, so not everyone's getting the same size. I've already talked about this and I'm not going to go back over old ground, but it also says underneath, or 1 black Amsterdam marker, so in the absence of the Graphmaster, you're going to have a black one of these. I'm almost sure this is due to supply chain issues. It's very difficult to get a hold of things. I don't know what it's like in Germany, but certainly here in the UK, not easy to get a hold of items, let alone in a timely fashion. And I'm almost certain that that's got something to do with this. But I've already talked about this, about people getting different things in boxes and then expecting them to create to a prompt to win a prize or exposure in their magazine. I disagree with it. R. A stowaway must have smuggled itself into the chest. Take a quick look to see if you got a small, medium or large or extra large marker. In any case, Graphmaster's acrylic varnish is water-based and highly opaque. I think that varnish should have been paint. After drying, the paint is matte, waterproof, UV resistant, suitable for all surfaces. And these come in 28 different colours, aside from the fact they come in 3 different nib sizes. So that's good to know as well. Okay, so a little bit about Jello Beans, who is the co-captain. I like to sit and read this with a cup of tea. It's just something I like to do. And she has also given us some special tips. Layer the different mediums for really neat textures and effects. Experiment with different medium combinations on some scrap paper before beginning your work. Yes, that's a good idea. Number 3 is my favourite. Go bold or go home. Most of my work is an exploration of colour, expression and texture. And I think that very much shows in our artwork. Very, very much. You know, if you come back here, absolutely love it. And we've also got a how-to video from Jello Beans as well, so you can scan the QR code. So here's some more of our work as well. It's so nice. I love looking at these on paper. It's just, it feels much more tangible. Okay, Upstart. But this is basically, it looks like giving advice about how they started as an artist, hence the Upstart. And then a sort of mini interview as well. Did you go to an art school or was it kind of just a hobby? So it'll be interesting to see if they carry this on and ask these same questions. So that's quite an interesting feature as well. And for newer artists, this might be quite inspirational as well. And she's given us step by step in how she's created an artwork as well. That's really cool as well. I like that. And here's a selection of the entries from Reflection, which was the box that had the oil paints in it. I absolutely loved that box. I absolutely loved that box. And I really like the paints as well. 15% off for Refer a Friend down here. And here are the winners from the Shades of Spring box. And that was the box that I questioned most about the combination of colours that people got, because everyone got different pans. Yeah, I felt particularly strongly about that. But these are absolutely lovely as well. I really like this one here. So this is Bianca, and she lives in Austria, and it tells you a little bit about her too. So there's lots of artist inspiration in this bottle post, which is really nice. So I find it interesting that they've changed the content of this magazine, and it seems to be very heavily artist based now, because that's now the 3rd artist that they've introduced in the space of this tiny little magazine. But I have noticed that all of the featured artists, if I just skip back through, their art styles are quite similar. You know, this is obviously portrait work here, and again portrait work here, and these ones have quite similar backgrounds to the featured artist as well. So they're trying to stick with a theme again. Now they did this with the box, the manga themed box, but I'm just wondering if they're gonna give us another curveball with the prompt, because the way this is going, the supplies that we've got, I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're going to be looking at portraiture maybe, or something, you know, a prompt loosely associated with portraiture. So let's just keep going and find out. The sketchbook tips by this last featured artist as well. So basically most of this magazine is about artists, and this is one of our postcards here, which is absolutely lovely. Really, really like that. Okay, the moment of truth. This month's battle topic is sketched dreams. Okay, so that could fit in with the art style we've got here. I do think because we've got this mixed media selection, it gives you a lot more freedom to work with a prompt like that. So that's made me slightly happier. So bearing that in mind, we're going to quickly test out these supplies and then we're going to get straight into the Upcrate battle and see what we can do with this prompt sketched dreams. Alright, so I've torn a page out of the sketchbook. I've just taken out the middle page because I told you it's been folded over. So I've actually got, technically speaking, I've got 2 sheets of paper here. So really quickly I want to test out these supplies, and as I'm going here I want to see how they interact with the paper, but also I want to really see what we've got in terms of colour palette here because there's quite a lot going on. So I'm going to start with the pencils and just see how they go on the paper, and the paper's picking them up really, really well. And these pencils, the cores are quite soft on them, and you can get some really nice layers as well, and the colour ends up quite rich because that's quite a delicate pink, and already we're getting some nice deep colour, so that's really cool. And these pencils feel nice as well. I kind of feel like these are a bit of an unsung hero, if I'm honest. The only downside to these as an oil-based pencil is they only come in 72 colours, where some of the other sets of oil-based pencils that are available, the colour range is much higher. Now, to be truthful, it's not really a big deal. 72 colours is plenty to get on with, and generally with oil-based pencils, they're easy to layer, so therefore you can create, you know, some pretty nice colour combinations if you know your colour theory, and if not, you can soon learn it. I'm still rubbish at colour theory. I'm getting better at it, but I'm still not good. But you can see how rich, on the darkest parts there, see where I've actually built up a couple of layers. That's really nice colour coming through. I really like this olive colour, it's lovely. And we've got blue as well. So just as we go along here, obviously I always unbox these blind. But as I'm going along here, I'm actually feeling a little bit overwhelmed with all the supplies we've got. So swatching them out like this is really helpful as well, just to sort of put all my ducks in a row. So if we go on to the fine liners here, let's try the brush. Oh, that's not the colour I was expecting it to be. That's very yellow. Okay, so the ink colour doesn't necessarily match the barrel colour with these twin tip fine liners. And oh, that plastic nib feels quite scratchy, and it's kind of like making a dent in the paper. It doesn't feel particularly juicy, but it might just be because it's a pale colour. So we'll keep going with these and see if that improves any. The brush tip's really nice though. Okay, so that's quite a delicate pink as well. These very delicate colours. Oh no, right, no, I don't really like the feeling of this pen on this paper, and I think the plastic nib may fare better on different paper. Gone really dark all of a sudden. I think it was going to rain. Not that that's surprising in Scotland at all. Don't know why I'm sounding so surprised. Okay, this looks like maybe like a dark burgundy colour. Oh, now see, that's nice. I like that. Yeah, look at that. I think it must be to do with the saturation of these two rather than them not being juicy or pigmented. Okay, this looks like a dark brown. Okay, so we've got a nice dark rich colour as well. This pen set's actually really balanced in terms of the colours. Obviously they've been curated to go together so that they're complementary, and I think they've done a really good job with that. Geese, honk honk. Yeah, the same thing. The light ones are really the plastic nibs aren't doing the light colours any favour here. Oh, that's nice as well. So I've kind of got mixed feelings about these pens so far. Again, coloured fine liners, brush pens I would use occasionally, but the plastic nib is not really something I would use. But for the purposes of what we're doing, obviously it's helpful. Okay, I'm going to have to prime all these markers. Do you know what I find quite interesting as well? With the Graphmaster markers, everybody got different ones. Mine has been sitting on its end on the desk while I've been filming this. And when I turn it on its side, I hope you can see that the paint level is there, so it's just over half full, so you've not even got a full barrel of paint if you've got one of these chunky ones, so that's quite interesting. Yeah, so I'm going to have to prime these. I feel as if I'm repeating myself so much these last couple of videos. So we need to shake this really hard to make sure that the paint is mixed and the tips depress like this. So what we have to do is shake it really hard and then press down on the paper a couple of times, and that lets the paint flow down into the nib, and you can see it soaking into the nib. So depending on the brand of paint marker, some take longer than others. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and I'll catch you back up when I've primed all the paint markers. Okay, well that took a bit of time. Okay, so strangely the little skinny markers were the ones that were most reluctant. Okay, so we've got quite similar colours here. And these pens feel quite nice actually. I like the nib size on these small ones, that's good. What colour's this? Naples Yellow Deep. And it seems to fill in fairly well. The thing that's kind of getting to me a wee bit here is this paper is slightly textured because it's mixed media paper, and I can feel it grating on the tips of these markers as I go along. And when you can feel that under your hand, you know that if you're going to do any sort of heavy work, that the nibs on these are going to start to fray and get damaged pretty quickly. It's not a big deal, but it's just something to be aware of. But I'm hoping that we can get replacement nibs for these. Oh, look at this pink colour. So this is the bigger nib, and this colour is light rose. This is the medium nib. So obviously you're going to be able to cover a much larger area more quickly with this one. That's such a delicate colour. I like that a lot. I'm quite liking these pens so far. Right, and then we've got, I'm a bit sceptical about this because these colours look really, really close together. Sky blue light and turquoise green. So hopefully this one will have more of a green hue to it. Yeah. Oh, there's one side of this nib that's just not taking the paint at all. It's very, very white, and it doesn't matter which way I sort of squish it about, it just doesn't seem to want to do it. So I've got like a dry side of the nib, and it's given really inconsistent colour. See if I turn it one way and the other. It's very, very scratchy. So I don't know, I mean I've prepped them, like I've primed them all exactly the same way, so that's a bit annoying. Again, that's a really nice colour though. I'm just wondering if I keep... It just doesn't seem to want to go down one side of the nib. And I'm interested in the quality of these nibs as well. I'm not convinced. Because this one, obviously I've done quite a lot of depressing, so to speak, with this nib, and it's flattened the end quite a lot. And it's something I'm always very careful about, is making sure I don't press hard. So if I just show you against this yellow one here, and that's just me trying to prime it. So can you see the difference? This one's very flat compared to this one. It might just be a dodgy nib, but there's actually fibre starting to fray off it already, so that's a little bit disappointing. Let's try the other one here, and this one's fine. I didn't have any problems prepping this one. So again, quite a delicate colour. So we've got very much the pastel shades with these, with the Amsterdam paint pens, and they feel nice. This is my first experience of these particular paint pens, and they feel nice. This one's a bit disappointing, but I do like the nib sizes as well. And then we've got this big bad boy here. Wow! This is really juicy. I feel like there's too much paint coming out this. It's very glossy and very wet. But again, we can cover a massive area with this. And because it's a chisel nib, we can use the different sides to create different stroke widths as well. So I think that's going to be really helpful in terms of using them for an artwork. We're actually spoiled for choice for colour this month, and that's something that's usually quite unusual, but I think it might be at the point where this is like an embarrassment of riches. So I want to jump over to my sketchbook now, and we'll try out a few ideas before we start our finished piece. And I'm going to have to be very careful that I don't put my hand in this because it is very wet. If I tilt it, you can see it in the light, you can see how wet it is compared to some of the others. There seems to be a lot of paint let down in the big marker. And you're going to get some of that because it's got a huge nib on it, obviously. But we just need to be careful you don't put your hand in it. Righty ho ho, I'm going to clear myself a bit of space here. I'm feeling a bit cluttered. Okay, so into the sketchbook we go. Okay, so the prompt is sketched dreams. I've been kind of thinking about that as well, just as I've been swatching out there, and it's actually a really open prompt. The fact that they've included the word sketched doesn't really give you any guidance because obviously we're doing art stuff and dreams can be literally anything. So you could draw anything you wanted for this prompt and you could pass it off as sketched dreams. So I don't know how I feel about that. That can be a good thing sometimes, but it can also be a bad thing. It's finding that delicate balance with the prompts because sometimes you feel really railroaded into going one route only, and other times they're too open and you don't feel you're actually getting any guidance. And I think that's kind of where I'm sitting just now, especially with the fact we've got so many mediums and so many colours to use. I would love to see a mixed media monochromatic box from one of our subscription boxes. So, you know, like a completely blue box or a completely pink box or something like that. I think that would be really, really good fun. But let's see what we can do. So when I'm thinking of dreams, the first thing that's kind of coming to me is I want to like make a nod to the featured artist. And in a lot of her artwork, she's got these sort of, you know, like psychedelic background type things. And I think that would be an excellent use of the fact that we've got so many colours and so many mediums here. So I'm going to try and bear that in mind, and I'm just going to draw out a couple of little thumbnails. When I think about dreams, one thing I do know is that I always dream in colour. I'm a very, very light sleeper. I don't sleep well, and I tend to remember a lot of my dreams. And someone asked me once if I've ever dreamt in black and white, and I can honestly say no, not to my knowledge. I always seem to dream in colour, so that's helpful. One of the things that I do have is a recurring dream, and it's a place, and it's a place I've never visited in real life. But in this dream, I know my way around this place because I've been in it so many times. And strangely, it's usually Christmas time when I'm there. And I can literally walk the streets in this place in my dream and I know where I'm going and I know where everything is. So I'm kind of thinking it might be nice to try something like that. But the other thing as well is, I was thinking about this idea, you know, we're talking about sketched dreams. So maybe we could have like a pen or a pencil and it could be like splurting out some of these colours, and we could make that the sort of background, you know, that I was talking about, similar to this. So I think I might like to do something like that and then actually have the subject of the dream in this sort of foreground part here. So I'm going to try and think about that. But I'm thinking about places in this dream, and it's a lot of, obviously it would be a sort of lot of landscapey things. So there's this cobbled street. On the corner it's a cafe or a bar, and it's got this big pane of curved glass, and then the doors, you know, like round one side of the curve on the street that goes up this way. And there's always people sitting at the tables at the window, and there's like it's not an awning, I suppose it's like a covered walkway. So there's like an overhang, and then there's pillars that come down onto the street. I think that's a little bit complicated for what I want to do here, and again, thinking about the colour scheme, you know, maybe not the best idea. The other thing as well is, in another section, like in another place in this dream, there's a raised set of bricks, and it's under like a motorway underpass. So there's always this, and again, pillars, like lots of pillars, and there's this sort of raised brick, I don't even know what to call it. It's just like a wall, but this flat on the top here, and there's steps up. And on here is a building, and it just sits on its own. And it kind of looks like a set of British public toilets that you would see in like a small town. And there's a door into this building, and it's always locked. And I've never found out what's behind that door. But a lot of the times in my dream, it's like sunset or sunrise. So there's this sort of darkened building, and the door's red. The door is red on this building, and it's like an old fashioned, like a wooden shed door like we would have on our farm here. And a lot of the times when I'm in this place in my dream, it's either sunset or sunrise. So in between these big pillars is, you know, this beautiful sort of set of colours. So I'm thinking that might work quite well. This mystery building, I would really, really love to know what's in it. I don't know. Or we could just go down a more sort of traditional route. Now again, I'm not really one for portraiture, I don't tend to draw humans, but we could have like, you know, we could have a person sleeping at the bottom here. They're sleeping, maybe they've got their duvet over them or something. And, you know, do the old dream bubble. That's a bit kind of cliched, isn't it? And we could have our dream in here, and again we could have like our psychedelic background in here with whatever we wanted to do. And maybe I could just have the pen or pencil keeking out at this corner, and that could be like leading into the sunset colour. So we could have like a blob and then just work it out, because we can dilute. I'm hoping, that's a good point actually, we never tried that out. I want to see if we can water down these marker pens, the fine liner pens. I wonder if we can do that. So this is my big broad tip water brush, and these are the Kuretake H2O brushes, my very favourite. I love them very much. So let's just see what happens here. Now with this being mixed media paper, it should be able to take a bit of water, but I've got a funny feeling this is going to dry really quickly. Oh no, can we get rid of those edges? Yeah, we can. Okay, so that might actually work for me. I think you have to go quick with this. But yeah, look, that's diluted out really well, so that's good to know as well. And I think I might be able to use that to my advantage. I think there's maybe too much going on here. I think what we'll do is we'll cut it down a bit. Zoom in, as it were. So we could just have the pencil in the corner. Let's forget about the underpass type thing. And we could just have this psychedelic background and then just this building. This is why thumbnailing is good. This is what we need. I'm getting better at this as well. So if I think about colours very briefly as well, honestly, I don't think I'm going to use every colour that we've got, but I'm going to try. but we've got lots of room for manoeuvre with that, with the background. So the building itself's quite dark, so again I think maybe I would use this dark colour here, but I would water it down with my water brush. And then the door itself, I could play between this pink and then use the red pencil over the top of it. Or maybe we could have a bit of light, you know, use these for highlights. Maybe there's the light sources coming from somewhere. So we could think about a light source there as well. And then that leaves me all these blues and pinks for the sky. So I've actually already changed my mind. And I think that the way I've sort of ended up zooming in a little bit from this thumbnail to this thumbnail, and I'm going to zoom in again. And I'm literally going to focus on the door and the steps and maybe just part of the building. I think that would probably work better. But that kind of makes me want to turn the paper the other way. I think I'm making things too complicated for myself here. I've decided I just want the door, because the door is the problem. Well, it's not a problem, it's just a curiosity in my dream. I'll say I've looked at this door so many times in my dreams, and it's not ornate or anything, these hinges. But I've looked at this door so many times. I kind of know it. And the planks run up and down the way. I find it quite... I would be really interested to hear if any of you have a recurring dream, or, you know, something that pops up frequently in your dreams. I would be really interested to hear about that, because it's something that I'm quite curious about, because I do remember a lot of what's going on with mine. But do you know that way? It's like every time I come in, I'm like, oh God, we're back here again. You know, some of you may think that these videos are quite long, but I do think it's important to show you like the thought process that I'm going through when I'm doing this. Because it is all part and parcel of, you know, of how we get to our finished products. Okay, this might seem a bit odd, but I'm actually going to start with the door, the door handle. So the colour that's not pink, I'm going to make that my base colour here. I do think the knob is actually like, it was probably quite shiny at one point, but over the decades, because I'm assuming this building's been here for quite a long time. It's not an ancient building, but it's certainly not a new building. And I think that this may have got tarnished over time. And I'll use this really dark brown for the keyhole. And straight away, these pens are bleeding into each other. That's feathered out. So we may have to wait for things to dry a little bit. That's really disappointing. That's ruined the shape of my keyhole straight away. Oh boy. Oh dear. Right, so we use this orange pencil. Shadow going here as well. That's really annoyed me already, like really annoyed me. And that's pulling up the paper. See, because I've already got layers down on it. Oh, that's really disappointing. Okay, this paper's not holding up nearly as well as it should. So we're going to have to go really easy on it. Right, let's not dwell too much. Let's move on. And I'm going to do the same thing with the hinges here. I'm going to sharpen this up as well. We'll see how the pencils sharpen. And when I'm doing stuff like this, I always use the Tagal multi-sharpener, because you can vary the point size. So I'm going to put it to number 3, which is a middle of the road between a long pointy point and a wee short stubby point. And we'll see how we get on sharpening this. And that's fairly good. I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just trying to use a really light hand here, because I don't want to upset the paper too much. So I've got a much smaller water brush now, and that's because I'm going to do these stones. Just want to test this out again on a scrap of paper, just to see what's going to happen if I start to blend. Okay, so it's not blending out as well, but this is just plain like printer paper. If you remember when I did it with the pink one, I managed to really dissolve it out. And again, that's just to do with the type of paper. So let's try, oh, I'm really reluctant to do this. Like I really am. Let's try one in here. So I'm just going to put the ink down on one little part, because the light's coming this way. And I'm just going to try and blend this out and see what happens. We should be okay, because I'm going to have a wee bit of greenery there as well, if you remember. Yeah, okay, right, so that's okay. We're getting on all right with that. Deep breath, like sigh of relief there. I'm going to have to leave this to dry, so I'm going to have to be really careful here what I'm doing, because I want it absolutely dry before I start messing about with anything else. Now see, I'm in a quandary, because what I was going to do was I was going to use one of these paler pinks, probably this one, to do the base colour for the door so that we could see the highlighted parts, and then go over it with the red pencil. But now that we know the pencil doesn't go down well over the marker, let's try on top of the paint pen, and that seems to be much better. It seems to be going down fine there. It looks like we just have to leave it to dry for ages, which again is not something I really wanted to have to do. Maybe it's just me then. And the problem is as well, this pink paint pen is the large nib, so that's going to make it quite difficult for me to get in around here. Right, I'm just going to have to go with this. And I think I'm just going to put a layer down, and I'm just going to go one plank at a time. And I'm going to try and be really careful, really light-handed. And I'm just going to give that loads of drying time. Gem's not having good funsies at all with this, guys. Like, really not enjoying myself at all. Hey, I've tried to go as lightly as possible with this. I'm going to try the plastic nib end in between here. And it's still feathering, but it's not as bad. So I'll maybe try and get some sort of semblance of sanity with this. I was trying to go back over this with my pencil as well now that it's totally dry, and it's just really unpleasant, and I don't understand what's happened from this piece of paper to this piece of paper, but it's just not going down the same at all. It looks very washed out, because if you look how vibrant that red pencil is, even on top of that there, it's almost like a different pencil. It's really strange, really strange. Okay, I think while we're waiting for that, we can work on our pencil up here. And I'm thinking about using this dark blue. Now, this will be interesting to see if I can pull this off. Well, that went well. Again, I'm going to have to leave that to dry. See, I was really hoping that this would be... But see, this one is semi-opaque. Now, this is the problem. The rest of them are opaque, so that's why it's not giving me a really crisp highlight, because it's semi-opaque, which is a problem. Okay, this looks nearly dry here. Again, just thinking about that light source, and this is obviously a hexagonal pencil. So we'll get that in there, and we can use the lightest one for the top part of that pencil, and at least that's going to look kind of normal, hopefully, she said. This really is for me just it's a bit of damage limitation now, I'm going to be honest. Still producing artwork. I'm not saying it's going to be anything spectacular, but I'm just not enjoying having to sort of fight against everything. And I'm not suggesting that it's all because of the supplies. It's part of me exploring as I go here as well. But yeah, I'm not really going to get the depth that I would hoped that I would get with the pencil. I kind of like this freehand feeling I'm getting with the planks though. Right, I think I'm probably safe to go up here with this lightest pen now. Right, there we go. So we're starting to get that psychedelic part, you know, like the really sort of funky, dreamy part on the go now. And I just want to do something crazy, like I just want to pop a great big ba-ba out there, because why not? But my problem now is there's actually paint dripping off the end of this. This marker is far too excited about its little self. I'm not even going to try and use that in there. What I'm going to do is take my water brush while this is still wet, and I'm just going to coax it into the gaps, because there's loads of like surplus paint there. So I'll just pull it over. Yeah, there we go, look. And I have to be very careful not to put my hand in that. So the paint letdown in these pens seems to be a little bit irregular, and it might just be because they're new. I have found that with other paint pens in the past. You know, they just seem to take a wee while to sort of bed in, as it were. I feel as if I'm having to, you know, manually depress the nib to let more paint down, as if it's going to dry out a little bit. But once you get going, it's fine. Back to the door of doom. See, never mind sketching dreams. This is like sketching nightmares. Oh, there you go. There's the title for the video right there. Oh well, that saves me a job trying to think something up later. Alright, I'm really having to watch where I put my hand. I'm going to have to go this way. So I'm just going to create some like abstract, you know, patterns, geometric shapes, whatever, round about what's going on here now, and just really get all the colours in. I'm kind of at the stage where I've accepted my fate with this now, and I'm not going to get wound up about it. I don't know what to do with the door of this though, because I wanted way more contrast and, you know, the light source, but I'm not going to be able to get it. Because nothing seems to want to behave on top of this. I've just put my hand in that blue paint again, and it's all the way up the side. Now what this is making me want to do is outline this entire door, which may be a mistake, but I just feel as if it's going to give it that slightly more illustrative feel, because I feel like the door looks really out of place now with everything round about it, so I'm just going to go for it. Okay, I'm going to try these hinges now. Feathering slightly, but it's not a disaster. It kind of looks like a door out of Who Framed Roger Rabbit now. There I go again, showed my age. It's a great film. Okay, what are we going to do about this door? What are we going to do? I'm going to take my plastic nib on the burgundy pen, and I'm just going to see how much of this pencil I can actually get down here. I'm not happy with the pink door. It's a red door. The door is red. The door has always been red. It will always be red. And I think what I'll do is I'll just put some indications of shadows and texture in with that pen like I've done in there. I may leave some paler areas here. Maybe suggest that some light's bouncing off somewhere. And obviously then I'll keep my fine liner away from those lighter areas as well. So I feel instantly the door looks a lot more red, which is good. I've got this problem with this door, it has to be red. So again, in these areas here, I might put a few lines of suggestion in and just avoid those paler areas. I'm going to use that big chunky blue marker very last because it seems to be the one that's causing me issues because it takes a long time to dry. I'm going to do a little bit more up there just to fix my boo-boo, my hand boo-boo. Okay, I feel like I'm coming to the end of this now. The end is in sight. Oh wow, I've got a lot of editing to do. I'm just trying to rescue my dirty marks here. This marker is really difficult to use in this kind of context. I think for a background it would be pretty good, but I feel like the ink flow's just a bit too keen and I would be wary of using it. Because it just seems to come out at a great rate of knots. But it's a lovely colour and it gives you like a really good solid flat colour as well. Right guys, I'm going to call it quits at that. This was, let's just call it an adventure today. I have really mixed feelings about this box, which is appropriate I suppose because it's a mixed media box. I can't say that I've enjoyed myself today. I've actually found this very stressful and I think it's a combination of an embarrassment of riches and the fact that I struggled a bit with the paper. Some of the supplies are really nice. The pencils are lovely. I really like the Polycolour pencils and I've had those before. And I actually really like the paint that's in this marker and I think I would have been really happy if I'd got this Graphmaster in a smaller size, but I just feel that the ink flow's a bit too keen and obviously limited use with the size of the nib on it. You would use it mostly for backgrounds. I'm really impressed at the solubility of the fine liner pens, the dual tip pens, and I think these would be excellent on different paper. I just don't feel that they jived well with this paper, which happens sometimes. And when you're putting several different types of supplies in a box, you have to compromise somewhere, and in this case obviously it's these ones that didn't really get on with the paper. The Amsterdam markers as well, they're nice enough. I would still go for the Molotov markers or the Posca markers over these given a choice. There's nothing wrong with them per se, and I quite liked the small nib size, but they didn't like blow my socks off basically, but they're not to say they're not a good supply. So there we go, my sketched nightmare it's actually ended up a really cheery piece, so perhaps not my best handiwork. But as you know, when I do the challenge in with the unboxing, I have very low expectations of myself. It's quite difficult to do things off the cuff like this and still be able to squash it into a reasonably length video. So that's always in the back of my head when I'm doing this. And I like to be quite honest with you guys about stuff like that. I would love to hear your thoughts on the box. If you have any comments on some of the supplies in particular, and if you have any thoughts on the challenge prompt or anything that I've done here, I would be glad to hear from you down in the comments section as always. If you've made it to the end and you're still listening, if you could pop a thumbs up on the video, that would be great as well. Okay guys, that's it for today. What a marathon. I think I've earned myself a cup of tea after this one today, but I hope you've enjoyed yourself and I shall see you back in the cave on Sunday for another video. So please stay safe and take care of each other and I will see you later. Have a great day everyone and bye bye for now.